time for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Bill Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. You've been waiting all day, so join the show now by calling 800-956-7266.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. It's a Talking Tuesday of the big week, the Palmetto Bowl, on this Tuesday night. Good to have you with us wherever you are dialed in around the state of South Carolina. Bill Kornbluth, Will Pelagic on location. Once again, we are at Palmetto Propane, which is on Fish Hatchery Road, right next to the Columbia Airport. Been watching the big jetliners fly overhead. We're here helping out our good friend Kevin Cohen of the Point Radio in Columbia. He's been busy raising money and doing all kind of good civic duty things that he likes to do, things that we don't really do on Sports Talk.
No, we're not that good.
Things that he does to the community. But you know what?
He makes us better.
Tonight, Kev's going to join us in just a second. Tonight is the night I disclose Kev's biggest secret. That's right. His biggest secret will be unveiled tonight, momentarily, here on Sports Talk.
Now I'm ready.
Oh, yeah. Stand by for that. It's a secret he has held for over 20 years. I'm disclosing it tonight here on Sports Talk.
Is it that he hates your guts or no?
Stand by. Professor Tom Hayes is back at our studios in Columbia. Pro, you got any idea of the secret I'm going to reveal tonight on Kev Cohen?
No, but I know from your talks that there's less of him.
This is true. He has done a great job of trimming down and dieting and exercising and doing all kind of things like that to get his body back into the shape of a teenager. He looks like he did back in his teenage years. So he looks great. I happen to think I look great. Will don't look so great.
I'm not. I need to lose some weight.
You had to go to Clemson today, and that wears and tears on everybody.
It is a very, compared to the drive that I did to Charleston back and forth for 3 out of the last 4 days, it's not bad. The reason I like the Clemson drive more is because there's variety to it. Like you get to change 2 or 3 or 4 different roads, and so it keeps your brain active. Whereas going to Charleston, it's literally just 100 miles down on 26, and it is boring.
Yeah,
it's the terrain. It's the change in terrain.
Yes, all that's good.
It's stimulating. Good. It's a stimulating drive to Clemson.
The Talking Tuesday, we'll hear from the 2 head coaches today. Tomorrow we'll hear from some of the players. A reminder, on Thursday, no live sports talk on Thursday. Thursday will be our recorded special previewing the Clemson-USC game. Tigers 14-point favorites. I was at USC today, and, those players, they were very respectful of Clemson. They have not forgotten what happened to them last year at Death Valley, 56-7. To the older players in particular who spoke with us, like DJ Smith, like Sky Moore, like Corey Helms, they remember the end of that game and Clemson calling timeout a couple of times to let their seniors come out and be showered with applause from the Clemson fans. They kind of took it as a little bit, I think, of a slap at the face of them because they were left stranded on that field while Clemson was celebrating and the scoreboard was so lopsided. So, look, when you get beat like that and you're the home team for this time around, you're the underdog, you're going to look for any little thing you can for extra motivation. I mean, there'll be plenty of motivation. If you can't be motivated for your big rival game, there's something wrong with you. But maybe that little extra motivation they feel like is going to be something that will help get them over the top against the Tigers. So as far as any news to come out of it, Will Muschamp said Antoine Wilder is out for the game with the elbow injury that he suffered against Wofford. And he also said Jamias Williams will be good to go. He's healthy. The shoulder's fine, so he'll be able to play corner, nickelback, whatever they need for the Gamecocks on Saturday. Muschamp was very upbeat. He's not hiding from the fact that Clemson is number 2 in the country and very, very good. He had a lot of positive things to say about the Tigers. He knows their personnel inside and out. I mean, it's amazing. Muschamp, he must have a photographic memory. He can recite, of course, his own players position by position, but in preparing for the opponent, he doesn't just give numbers. He knows names. He knew every name of the players he was identifying on the Clemson defense, just calling them out, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'm sure he's a guy that admires great defense, and he is admiring a great Clemson defense. But he feels that the Gamecocks are better coached, as his words, better coached and are playing better football today than they were a year ago. So he thinks there is legitimate hope for his team going into this game on Saturday. We'll hear from him coming up.
And Clemson has that same kind of respect for South Carolina, knowing that that is not the same team walking out on the field at Williams-Brice Stadium at Saturday night, 7:30, that walked out on the field at Death Valley last year that they beat 56-7. You mentioned you mentioned Will Muschamp talking about the depth chart. Dabo Swinney basically outlined the entire offensive and defensive depth chart for both sides of the football for South Carolina. It's funny, the names that he used seem to be like guys that they had recruited too, guys like Ortre Smith and the like there. But they certainly have a respect for South Carolina. And the one thing I think that stuck with me is that Will Muschamp this year has put South Carolina in places to win every game that they've played. And that's the one thing you could say is very evident from their games. Even the games that they've lost, they've been in every football game, and that's a difference from a year ago and even from the years gone by from the South Carolina teams we've seen of recent vintage. Injury-wise, the Tigers are about as healthy as they've been at any point in the season. They were able to take some of the guys that they would normally use in the Citadel game and rest them. So guys like Mitch Hyatt, Kendall Joseph, Dexter Lawrence are all good to go. The one player he does say is doubtful is linebacker Trey Lamar. Look for guys like J.D. Davis and James Skalski to maybe take and spell some of those guys, because those guys were big in the Citadel game and also in the Florida State game that preceded the Bulldog contest. And the only guy that they would say would be doubtful would be Chad Smith. But otherwise, Clemson's healthy. They have a healthy respect for the Gamecocks. And the one thing to kind of echo off your point, Corn, is that, it's very easy to kind of keep tabs. As much as they like to keep a singular focus on the opponent at hand, Dabo Swinney, I asked him earlier today, I said, how hard is it to block out what the team downstate from you is doing? And he said it's very, very difficult, because people come up to you, people come up to the players, they say, oh, did you see South Carolina's this? Or did you see South Carolina won its 8th game? Or did you see this? Or you see this? Somebody said this. So it's very, very easy to kind of keep tabs. And much like what Will Muschamp and you said, Dabo Swinney knows South Carolina's personnel inside and out. And it's funny, the enemy knows you the best, I would say.
Well, they did recruit Ortre Smith. They did recruit Brian Edwards. They did recruit Shi Smith. Passed on all three.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted Brian Edwards as a safety.
Right.
He wanted to be a receiver. Ortre Smith grew up a Clemson person. His mother played volleyball at Clemson. His entire family are Clemson people. But, the Tigers got other receivers, and they kind of shuffled these guys down the list a little bit, and they kind of said, you know what? And South Carolina came in and said, we really want you. We want you for you, and we want you for what we need, and come join us. And so same thing with Shi Smith. It looked very early on in his recruiting that he was going to be Clemson bound, but when they got Eli Rogers, that kind of took his spot. When Clemson signed T. Higgins, that kind of took Ortre's spot. And again, they wanted Edwards as a safety, and he wanted to play receiver. So Clemson did recruit these guys and others on the USC team. And conversely, South Carolina recruited some of the guys who were on the Clemson team. Those are three that jump out at me.
Well, I want to talk about the psychological aspect of this football game, because everybody's talking about South Carolina has a chip on their shoulder. I think for a lot of the Clemson players, they have a chip too, Corn, because many people say, well, they're going to take a downturn when Deshaun Watson leaves. They're not going to be the best. Okay, fine. They want to go back to the playoff and say, we're still here. And notice that the other quarterback, you said he's down there in the NFL now in Houston, Texas, and we're still here. So I think there's a chip on Clemson's shoulder. As far as South Carolina is concerned, another carrot sitting there for them is they're right there at the precipice of entering, and it doesn't mean anything, but they can enter into the AP and coaches poll with an upset. And for Will Muschamp to say second year, look, we're ranked. Hey, we're going up.
Speaking of, we have another college football playoff ranking coming out tonight, 7 o'clock, right? No basketball interfering this time?
I believe that's the case.
All right, look forward to that. See if Clemson hangs at number 2. We'll be right back. Welcome back into Sports Talk, everybody. South Carolina Radio Network on this Talking Tuesday. Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, the Professor Tom Hayes. We are on location at Palmetto Propane on Fish Hatchery Road in West Columbia, just by the airport. We're here helping out to some degree. Kev Cohen. You are just everywhere.
Thank you.
Oh, hang on a second now. Doggone it. Here I am.
Try that.
Hey.
Good thing we use the same equipment.
Absolutely.
I knew where to go. Hey, yeah, thank you very much for guys coming out here. Will, appreciate it. Phil, thank you very much for
Our
that.
pleasure.
Pro, it's sorry I'm not seeing you, but happy Thanksgiving back at the studio, and Brian back at the studio. Thank you guys. Yeah, 2470 Fish Hatchery Road, right off Charleston Highway here in West Columbia. That's the site of Palmetto Propane. And we are here, and we're doing this as guests of our friends from the South Carolina Pork Board. You were asking for their website, porkbeinspired.com.
That's it.
You were asking me that. Well, it's a great website, and they've got all kinds of good holiday recipes. But the reason we came out here, of course, is for Football Friday on a Tuesday for us on the local show on the Point. But we're also letting folks stop by between now and 8 o'clock to register for a big green egg cooker grill. It's valued at over $1,000, and we're going to draw that right at the end of the show. Porter's going to draw that for us at the end of the show. And we're also serving food for everybody here, which they're cooking on a different big green egg from the South Carolina Pork Board. And we're taking donations for folks. If you could stop on by here and help us out, we're taking donations for the Blue Star Mothers, which are doing so much to help the men and women who are serving overseas and are not getting the holidays. Because, you and I, we might get to go and enjoy our turkey or enjoy whatever we're going to enjoy on Thanksgiving. When the bad things happen, they don't get holidays off. They don't get anything off. So if you can stop by here on your way home from dinner or on your way home from work, whatever it is, 2470 Fish Hatchery Road. We've got a space heater set up. We're under a nice tent, and we're right there at the Palmetto Propane. It's at the Marathon gas station. Please stop by. Say hello. We'll give you some swag. We'll let you register for the big green egg, and we'll take your donations, some cash donations for Blue Star Mothers, and see what kind of difference we can make for our service members.
Another gesture by you with your station, The Point Radio, which is now into year 4.
Yes, sir.
Another gesture towards local, and being out and doing things in the community.
Well, that's what you and I and Will, I know you're a little bit younger, but I know you get it when it comes to what local radio is supposed to be.
Absolutely.
And it's really, really important. I know we have so many affiliates on the network that are all just like The Point when it comes to being so involved in their local communities. And so everybody that's listening, wherever you're around the Palmetto State, just always take care of your local businesses, and small businesses are critical, and support them and support local talk radio and men and women who serve.
Now, I have promised to unveil your big secret.
Okay.
Don't be real nervous. I'm not going to pull something out of your sordid past, personally. No, but, for 22 years, I was listening on the way in. For 22 years, you have had a character, a person by the name of Big Joe call in and predict the USC football game for that week.
Yes.
You've never unveiled who that is.
That's correct.
Tonight we tell the world that Big Joe is none other than Will Pelagic. He's Big Joe. Good to see you. How are you? Nice to have you here in the Midlands. Will Pelagic, also known as Big Joe. What do you think?
I thought you were going to say it was Tom Hayes. I thought you were going to say it was Big Pro, not Big Joe.
For all these years, I really thought it was Teddy Hefner disguising
Can I
his
tell you a
voice.
funny story of who everybody thought it was? Your good friend and K-Mac, his old good friend, Todd Ellis, used to do the pregame show with me, and everybody thought it was Todd Ellis to the point where one day he got a call from the Spartanburg Gamecock Club, which I know you go and speak to on a regular basis, the good folks up there, and they said, But Todd, do us a favor. Will you come up here? Will you do one of your Big Joe things for us? He immediately called me and says, "Man, you got to stop. You got to stop letting people think that's me, and you just got to stop because now people are asking me to do endorsements as Big Joe and do speeches as Big Joe."
Yeah.
So anyway,
and
so
Big
it's not
Joe,
Big Joe.
it's not Todd Ellis.
No, it's not Todd
It's
Ellis.
not Todd Ellis. Will Pelagic.
It's Big
All
Pro.
these years
Big Pro.
Will was in Texas and he was in
All right.
Missouri.
Anyway, nobody
He
cares.
would call in.
Nobody cares.
But Big Joe picked the Gamecocks.
Who is going to make the deciding play Saturday night? Is it going to be
Parker White.
Is
He's going to kick a 52-yard field goal.
Does he get like to kick it and then it lands and then he gets to kick it a second time? Is that how it works? Because I don't see that
happening. They're
going
to lift him up on his shoulders and they're going to, do the old toss him up in the air, hip, hip, hooray, sort of thing.
Wondering why they were calling you Corn Coon earlier when I was up at Clemson.
Oh, is that what they were calling me?
They were calling you that.
That's very sad.
Yeah. Tiger Phil, sad. Tiger Will, Gamecock Phil, Gamecock
Will. He hasn't been around long enough to get
Listen, I heard last night, you get taken to the woodshed by,
Vern and Bishop.
Yeah, I heard that. And Will, all that means is that you're doing your job, buddy. I got it. Phil's been getting it for 30 years, and
it's funny, all those people called me a Clemson homer don't remember Clemson fans bashing me not a month ago during the series.
Apologize for nothing, Will.
I apologize.
You're doing a great job. I'm thrilled having you as part of the family here, and I'm excited about this. I'm excited because everybody I'm talking to, even the Gamecock fans, are acknowledging, we probably won't win, but we think it's going to be a lot better game. That just tells you, and again, I'm not a moral victory guy. I don't care about moral victories. They don't get you. There's no moral bowl. But you know that the gap is being closed, and you know Coach Muschamp has got this thing going in the right direction. And I was talking with you, Will, earlier on the local show in Columbia. This is so much more fun for all of us, especially for you guys who do the statewide show, when both teams are really doing well and there's so much more at stake than when one team is excelling, the other one's in the tank, or when both are in the tank or whatever. And we haven't had a lot of years where both teams were really, really special.
Juice fills a rivalry, certainly.
Well, this has been a special year both ways when you think about it. Number one, of course, Clemson coming off as defending national champs. Most people, even those close to the program, those far from the program, thought, you know what, they're going to take a step back this year. They're going to regroup. They got a terrific quarterback coming in. Kelly Bryant's not going to be able to get it done. They're not going to be able to win with Zarek Cooper or Hunter Johnson. Who's going to be the running back? Who's going to replace Mike Williams? And they were going to just take a little step back, maybe win 9 games, 10 games, but certainly not win their division, not play for the ACC championship, and not be in the playoff. Well, kudos to Dabo Swinney and their staff and their players for not listening to any of that and going out and doing their business. Then you got South Carolina, which, 2 years ago they were left in complete shambles when Steve Spurrier left, and they got through the end of that season. They lost to Clemson, didn't go to a bowl game. Muschamp comes in, gets them respectable despite the blowout loss to Clemson. They get to a bowl game, lose a close one, finish with 6 wins, which was pretty good considering what he inherited. And then this year, to win 8 games, to beat Florida. And listen, I know about the woes of these other programs, but you got to beat them when you can beat them.
Absolutely.
So you look back, you're going to see a win over Florida on the ledger. You're going to see a win over Tennessee on the ledger. Yeah. You're going to see second place in the SEC East. And 8 wins right now, minimum 8 wins on this season. That's a lot to feel good about if you're Will Muschamp. But I can tell in his demeanor, the way he talks, that he feels so much better about his program, about his players, that he's turned this culture around, and he's building that team and that family atmosphere that every coach wants to develop.
This thing is going in the right direction. It's a fun thing to watch from our perspective. Not that we're sitting here as homers, but it's just a lot more fun when your major programs give you something to talk about. As I was mentioning with Will earlier on the local show in Columbia, the day will come, and I really believe this, where we will have the folks from the big network, the mother network, the ESPNs coming and doing game day here and things like that. They've done it obviously in the past when Coach Spurrier had things going really well. They did it a couple times, when Lou Holtz had things going in the right direction. But that was as much because of the names Holtz and Spurrier as it was for anything else. Now it's going to be because of the brand of football and because they're playing for championships here. And I think that's very special. Obviously, everyone knows up at Death Valley what that feeling is like. And even Dabo will tell you that while it might not be as easy to recruit the state of South Carolina when you're going against a really successful Will Muschamp program, it's better for the state of South Carolina, period, when both schools are doing well.
Absolutely. This rivalry is underappreciated nationally, and I think the only thing that can help it is that both programs continue to succeed, continue to move forward so that when you get to this weekend of the season, it takes a center stage that it hasn't had before.
You're not excited that SEC Nation's coming in?
I think it's great. Yeah. Huh? They're bringing in a guy who's got less hair than you, which is saying something.
That is kind of hard to do. Thank you, Kev. Now go away.
Thank you guys for letting me come out here with you guys.
You got it, my man. Good seeing you. Be right back. Welcome back in Sports Talk here on Clemson USC Week 2017, leading up to the Palmetto Bowl. Coming up, we're going to hear our first takes from the head coaches. Lee Sterling is joining us here in just a few minutes. With the holiday, we have shuffled his segment up into tonight, and he'll give us his take on South Carolina, Clemson, Miami, Pittsburgh, Alabama, and Auburn. All that is coming up here on Sports Talk in just a little bit. If you want to join in on the program tonight with more of your pregame comments, your predictions on the game, 800-956-7266 is the number. As we're brought to you by South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org, pork powered by soy. I want to mention a couple of things here very quickly. Southern Conference postseason awards came out today. The coach of the year is Furman's Clay Hendricks. So congratulations. Nice. The Paladins' Matthew Schmidt earned the Jacobs Blocking Award for the Southern Conference. Of course, several members of the Paladins and Wofford and the Citadel are on the postseason all-league team. For the Big South, their awards came out today as well. The individual awards, the defensive player of the year is Anthony Ellis of Charleston Southern. So congratulations to him. By the way, came out last night that Presbyterian is making the move to the Pioneer League.
Really?
Will be going non-scholarship here in the near future. So they make an adjustment in their program, and probably something they need to do because they've just had a hard time trying to sustain a successful football program since they went to the FCS level.
One school leaves from the one school leaves the Big South. One school enters the Big South next year with.
Well, there's two. Hampton is coming in.
Yes,
and the other one was Upstate. But Upstate doesn't play football.
Sure.
Yeah, but Hampton will be coming in to play football, leaving the MEAC. Okay, Talking Tuesday here on Sports Talk. By the way, our poll question of the day on Twitter is who will have the most rushing yards? Travis Etienne, Tavian Feaster, or A.J. Turner? Right now, 46% of the votes are for A.J. Turner.
You're not giving Feaster enough love, man.
45% Etienne. I think Clemson fans think Etienne's going to be the horse.
See, I think in a game of this nature, I like the bigger back, especially because I think it's going to be a physical ball game. So much of this rivalry's history has been predicated on who runs the ball better. And I think that you're going to need to kind of trust a bell cow in that way with Tavian Feaster. Not that Travis Etienne won't have his moments, but I think, if anything, it'll be on more explosive plays, not necessarily kind of the carry the mail style that Tavian Feaster might bring to the table.
And I think with South Carolina, I think some of their short passes will have to compensate for one of their running game, because Turner, even though he's a vicious runner, he's 185 pounds, and if they run him a lot, Clemson will try to turn this into a heavyweight fight to see how many punches he can take.
All right, 800-956-7266 is our phone number if you'd like to join us tonight here on Sports Talk. Let's hear from the coaches as we listen in on Will Muschamp. This is his second go-around with the Tigers. Did not go well for him the first time last year up in Death Valley, 56-7. And I believe that he feels like they've got a much better chance at victory this time around.
Looking forward to one of the great rivalries in all of college football, and certainly playing much better and coaching much better than we did a year ago. So Clemson's got a really good football team. You look at offensively, the year Kelly Bryant's had has been outstanding. Really is, I'm sure, for them going in the year, uncertainty of how he would perform, and he has played really good football for them. 154 carries, not all designed quarterback runs, creates a lot of issues for you in off-rhythm plays. He's had 300 attempts, and he's completing 66% of his passes. So really played good football. And you go back and look at Virginia Tech in several of the games where he's making some plays, whether he's throwing it or running it, and really playing good football. Really good stable of backs. Feaster and Etienne got top-end speed guys. Good stable of receivers. Deion Kane we know well. Ray McLeod, who's also a punt returner for them and does a really nice job. And Hunter Renfro in the slot's a very difficult cover. Deep up front and in their offensive line and playing a lot of guys. Defensively, Brent does a great job. Farrell and Lawrence and Bryant and Wilkins and those guys are very disruptive in the run and pass game. We've got to negate the front and then block those guys. That's the bottom line, and that's going to be a key to the game for us offensively. But they're deep at linebacker. They're going to get Kendall back this week, and he's a really good football player. Trey Lamar's played well for him, and O'Daniel's, I think, their leading tackler, and he's having a fantastic year for them, and they're really deep in the secondary. And they got good team speeds. They're good on special teams. And Ray Ray's a really good punt returner. I think he's hit one this year, maybe two last year. So ought to be a great environment here at Williams-Brice. So we're looking forward to getting it home and playing these guys and open up for any questions.
Will how are Antoine and Jam for this week?
Antoine will be out this week. Had a dislocated his elbow, but Jam's good to go. He practiced today, and everybody's good.
Will, for Jake on Saturday, what are the keys for him to have success against that Clemson defense?
Well, I think first of all we got to block the guys up front. I mean, that's going to be key to be able to have some time. Obviously, that's where it all starts to me in the run and the pass game. We got to be able to negate the front and continue to compete like I know he's going to compete and make good decisions like he's been making really good decisions for us. Obviously taking care of the football to create some explosives and go make some plays. I mean, at the end of the day, when you play a really good team, you got to make some plays, and that's the bottom line. And certainly that's what we're expecting him to do.
Will, Taylor was telling us earlier that you put on the game film from last year. I'm wondering how much you guys have talked about last year and if you're trying to use it as motivation for this team.
Well, I mean, I think as a coach, you're always trying to look in terms of motivation, and we're all motivated differently. Some guys are self-starters, and you don't really have to say a whole lot to them. Some guys need to have a little bit of a reason to get excited about it. But in this ball game, you don't need a lot of motivation at the end of the day. And we're had a really good practice this morning. Guys were highly motivated. We don't play till 7:30 Saturday night, and we need to have a good gradual build-up emotionally to the game, and I think we will.
Will Muschamp. We'll hear more from him coming up a little bit later on in the program tonight, but you could tell in his voice that he knows it's a very, very good opponent that they are facing, but he feels like he's got players. Bentley, Edwards, Hurst, Sky Moore on defense, TJ Brunson, the secondary much better with Fenton, Lamons, Jamias Williams, DJ Smith. They're just overall better up front. DJ Wanham is somebody that Clemson has, Gamecocks have to be concerned about Clemson's pass rush from their defensive ends. Very good with Bryant and Farrell. Well, DJ Wanham is having a great year, and he's somebody that Clemson's tackles are going to have to deal with, somebody with some speed coming off the edge. So, this time the Gamecocks are going into this shootout with some bullets in the gun, something they did not have last year, and I think Muschamp realizes he's got a much better chance to do something this time around compared to last year.
And I'm interested to see just how this game starts out. Like if South Carolina starts out with a good drive, whether they sustain it, whether they score or not, if they can get some confidence early, then it's going to be a fight. If you have one of these drives that goes 3 and out and then Clemson's able to respond, you wonder how emotionally they can respond to that. It's going to take a lot of confidence early for them in order to make sure that this game can be a fourth quarter game. They need to be able to play sustained football throughout.
And I think you have to have Jake Bentley relax early and also somewhat frustrate Clemson's rush by calling short patterns early where he gets the ball out in 2 to 3 seconds. That sort of frustrates the defense. Then they start to pull up on the rush thinking they need to bat down passes at the line of scrimmage. Then that's when you drop back 5-7 steps and throw the football down deep. So you have to pick your spots in this one. For South Carolina to win, they have to turn this not into a physical battle, but a chess match.
This will be the 115th meeting in the series. Clemson has won 68. USC's won 42. There have been 4 ties. In Columbia, of course, maybe newcomers don't realize that for many years, up until 1960, the game was played in Columbia every year. And Clemson leads in Columbia 50-32-3. And in Clemson, the Tigers have won 18 out of 29 meetings. USC going for all-time victory number 601. And Dabo Swinney going for all-time victory number 101.
100, according to what he told us earlier today.
I thought he got 100 last week.
They said 100 comes this week if they win.
Okay, very good. continue with Sports Talk tonight from Palmetto Propane on Fish Hatchery Road in West Columbia. If you're listening to us in the Midlands area, we are still here. Kev Cohen is still here taking donations. We got free food, delicious sausage being cooked up
on the Big Green Egg, and I can vouch personally for the effectiveness of the Big Green Egg.
Quite tasty, quite tasty.
Any
The
ham?
Touchstone Energy Bowl is coming up on December. No ham.
Just sausage.
Green eggs and ham.
The Touchstone Energy Bowl is coming up on December 9th in Myrtle Beach. Tickets are available. $15 online at touchstoneenergybowl.com. Go ahead and get them until November 24th. A couple of more days and the price goes up. So get them now. Also, they're going to give away a couple of free tickets, a $100 Visa gift card, free Touchstone Energy merchandise. Go register at scliving.coop/touchdown. Lee Sterling in a moment, some professional help. But what does Dabo Sweeney have to say about the rivalry?
He has a lot to say positively about a USC team that got blown out in Death Valley last year, but he knows it's not the same team they saw last year.
This team has really played well, and they've gotten better as the year has gone. I think, Will and his staff, they've done a great job of giving these guys a chance to win each week. Had a couple other games where they were also in position to win. So they've been in it. They've had a chance to pretty much win, give those guys credit. They're playing hard, playing with great effort, playing smart. They've done a good job of creating turnovers, and defensively, very impressive group. Number 5, number 8 are very athletic, made a lot of plays for them. 8 is run a lot of guys down. He's made a lot of plays on the quarterback, and just a group that's playing with great chemistry, playing very hard. They play physical, and they're very rarely out of position, and that's a sign of good coaching. So very impressed with what I've seen defensively. Offensively, their quarterback is a very good player. He's a great competitor. He has great understanding of what they're trying to do. Does an excellent job of managing their offense and executing their run game and their passes off the run game. He's got some craftiness to him. There's time and time again on tape. You think he's sacked and somehow he breaks free and then he'll find a play. So when he scrambles, he finds guys on their scramble drill. So that's one thing that I think he does a great job of. He's got a nice arm. Made a big post throw for a touchdown against Wofford last week, right before the half. And he had to play against Texas A&M that I think kind of epitomizes who he is. They had him sacked and bottled up, and somehow he spins out and throws a big pass. So when you get your hands on him, you gotta hang on. You got to get him down. He's a big, strong kid, and like I said, just well groomed, and he's a quarterback and a great competitor. So got our hands full there. Offensive line wise, I think they're playing a lot better than last year. That's why they're 8-3. And again, I think that's year 2 with their coaching and just kind of getting some good chemistry and getting guys in the right spot. They've done a nice job there. Their tight end, number 81, is a great football player. I think he's a guy that will definitely play at the next level. He is a very, very good player. This is a week that everybody gets excited about all across the country. You've got rivalries taking place this week, whether it's Alabama, Auburn, or Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, Georgia, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Michigan, Ohio State. I mean, it's just it's that time, and it's fun to be a part of it. Been a part of it my whole life, it's great. So night game down there. Sure it'll be a great crowd, and we're just focused on trying to finish our season as strong as we possibly can, and starting by playing hopefully our best 4 quarters of the year this week.
Time to put your money where your mouth is. Put up your feelings, let them fight it out. He's a hustler. If you don't got gas, you won't be getting no sticks. And if you don't got money, you want some money. If you don't got cash, you won't be getting no. He's a gambler. At the house on the young and then we got change.
Show them the next item up a bit.
Now we go from one wise man, Dabo Sweeney, to another, Lee Sterling. Our Sterling picks here on Sports Talk as we get some professional help. Lee coming off a 3-1 week for us last week. Congratulations. Nice bounce back.
Thanks. Yeah. Looking forward to continuing this run. Looking forward to eating a lot of turkey on Thursday. I diet every year for the week leading up to Thanksgiving because I start at lunch at like 12:30 and I go through like 10:30, 11 o'clock and kind of waddle into bed.
Well, we prefer you eating turkey than eating crow, so that's good
true.
thing.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. So any big plans you guys got?
We got a big game this weekend.
Thursday. Anything exciting and new,
My folks are being in town.
Okay.
Just going to be with the fam watching
That's what it's
football.
all about. 4S family,
yeah.
friends.
Hopefully watching the Redskins cover, maybe. We'll see.
let's I think you're asking for a little too much, huh?
Let's get to our picks.
Yep.
Our time is short here, folks, so let's get to it. ParamountSports.com. You got anything special for the holiday weekend?
Yeah, we have the turkey shootout. Last 10 years, we won 8 of the last 10 years. We won last week for our clients, including a 7-1 Saturday, almost a perfect 8-0. You want to get involved. How about this? It's not 197 like it normally is most years, or even 147. $97 for 15 games from Thursday through Sunday. No one hotter. We've won 9 of 13 weeks. We had a big week last week. 15 games over the entire weekend, just $97. But you have to use coupon code SAVE50 at ParamountSports.com.
Beautiful. Let's move swiftly. Alabama, 4-point favorite over Auburn.
Bama starts quick. They've outscored opponents in the first half 253-43. Since that kick six in 2013, Bama's dominated. I just think Auburn can stop the teams that are one-dimensional like Georgia and Bama. Too many great players. They can pass, run, and they're coached well. Roll Tide, 31-20.
Miami, 13 over Pittsburgh.
I think it's an advantage for Miami here to play. It looks like it'll be probably low to mid 40s here. Probably similar the following week when they go to play in Charlotte. So I don't know if Miami's one of the four most talented teams in the country, but they do have a lot of heart here. They're well coached. Their defense, how about this? 19 turnovers the last 5 games. You got to go back, I think, to the 70s to see a run like that. So they have something going on there, and they'll be facing a Pittsburgh quarterback. They took the red shirt off a kid for 2 games. Big mistake here. Miami 35-13.
All right, and the big one here in the Palmetto State, Clemson by 14 over USC.
Clemson's much better. I mean, look at talent-wise, position by position. They're better everywhere. I think, though, they might be peaking a little bit ahead to Miami. I think they're hearing about Miami every single day, the turnover chain, this game. They beat a team 56-7 last year. What we're finding out, these teams that got beat down the year before, they're playing teams close and maybe winning the game outright. I don't think that South Carolina wins, but Bentley is a great leader, good play action. He left the game last year before halftime. He's got something to prove, and they have 7 straight covers as a dog. Clemson moves on 28-20, but the Gamecocks cover.
There you go. Game of the week, Georgia laying 11 against Georgia Tech.
They can get it for free, 800-400-9741. Call that number. Get that game toll-free, 800-400-9741. And the Turkey Shootout, 15 games, $97, ParamountSports.com.
Thank you, my friend. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Take care. Lee Sterling, Paramount Sports, professional help, top of the hour. Okay, coming down in 3, 2, 1. Spring Valley linebacker Channing Tindall will go to Auburn this weekend for the Iron Bowl. The Tigers linebackers coach Travis Williams is a former Spring Valley star who went on to a standout career at Auburn. Tindall has not yet scheduled his official visits, but Georgia and Florida are definite for visits. Not sure about an official to USC because of the proximity and the fact that he can get there very easily on his own. Defensive end Jarrett Jackson of Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, was at USC officially for the Florida game. USC remains in the thick of the race for him and is in touch. He has officials set with Pittsburgh December 1st and Louisville December 8th. He remains a commitment to the Cardinals. Phil Kornbluth, South Carolina, Radio Network Sports.
Round 2 of Sports Talk up next with your hosts Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
We are back, hour number 2, Sports Talk Talking Tuesday. Palmetto Propane, Fish Hatchery Road in Columbia. Folks are still coming by and making donations. Kev Cohen's been out here greeting all his fans and taking their money, and that's a good thing. And they're also registering to win the Big Green Egg Grill. And they're cooking up on another Big Green Egg Grill, a bunch of sausage. Really good.
Really good
I
sausage.
mean, really. No, this is really – I consider myself a connoisseur of sausage.
Way to steal my line.
And that is damn good sausage.
We're such a line
As
stealer.
sausages go. All right, the College Football Playoff Committee is working tonight. They're releasing their new ranking for the week. And look who pops up at number 24.
South Carolina.
Does that mean they have a chance at the playoff?
No.
No. Oh. Here's my prediction.
They
of the top
replaced
4. You know,
NC
I was 1 for 4 last week. Teams and order, probably the only sports talk show host in the country to nail all 4 in proper order that I saw.
Man, when you get something right, man,
don't
even bother.
Don't let that sausage go to your head.
So here we go.
Something else going
Alabama will stay number 1.
Uh-huh.
Clemson will stay number 2.
Uh-huh.
But I believe unless they hold the crotch grab against them, they'll move Oklahoma to number 3.
After that big victory over Kansas.
And Miami, which struggled. Miami struggled all day in its game.
Against Virginia?
Yeah. I mean, it went down to the end.
Yeah.
I think they'll flip-flop those 2. I don't think Wisconsin will jump over anybody to get into the top 4. I think it'll stay Wisconsin, Auburn. At this point, don't see any change there. So I've got Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma, Miami.
I think they'll move Clemson to number 1, honestly.
No, you do not.
I mean, the committee loves Clemson. I think the committee absolutely loves Clemson. I think they love them so much.
You can't, based on what Alabama beat Mercer 56-0.
I think they'll move Clemson up to number 1.
No, that ain't happening.
I'm being somewhat facetious, by the way.
Oh.
Somewhat facetious.
Okay.
I think that if we're doing honest and being honest about things, I think there'll be no change at the top 4.
No fascism allowed on Sports Talk.
Facetiousness would be the correct adjective.
Yes.
All right, 800-956-7266. If you want to chime in on the program, let's give you some recruiting tonight as we head toward the holiday. Defensive end Jarrett Jackson, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, made an official to USC for the Florida game and said afterwards the Gamecocks gave him a few things to consider in regards to his commitment to Louisville. Nearly 2 weeks later, he's still weighing those factors and still sticking to his pledge. He did not take a visit last weekend, has nothing for this weekend. He has Pitt official December 1, Louisville official December 8. He's been in touch with USC defensive line coach Lance Thompson, and they continue to converse, and Thompson continues to push, try to get him. He plans to take his final 2 officials and then make his decision. He's an early signee. Spring Valley linebacker Channing Tindall now focusing on recruiting since his season ended last Friday. And so he's going to take an unofficial to Auburn Saturday. He's being recruited by the Tigers linebacker coach Travis Williams, himself a former Spring Valley star. You okay?
I'm fine.
I think I heard like an expression of intestinal release there.
No,
okay.
no, just fine.
Anyway, Travis Williams is recruiting him, former Spring Valley star, Auburn star. He's not yet scheduled his official visits, but Georgia and Florida are definite. An official visit to USC, according to his stepfather, is not a definite because of its proximity, the ease with which they can drive over any time for a visit. He will not be an early signee, but he would like to make his commitment in December if possible. His stepdad told us he has an idea of the school he likes the most. He still wants to check out more criteria, and he wants to see that on these visits. He took 3 unofficial visits to USC during the season. He also took 1 to Georgia. Defensive back J.C. Horn of Alpharetta, Georgia, remains committed to Tennessee. Did not visit Knoxville last weekend as he thought he might do. This weekend, he plans to be either at USC or Auburn for their games. He has taken unofficials for games to Clemson, USC, Tennessee, Auburn, Alabama, Ole Miss, and Georgia. USC and Alabama will be 2 of his official visits. He's not signing until February. 2019 kicker Aiden Swanson of IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida, was at Clemson Saturday, unofficial. Loved the visit. Clemson has given him a preferred walk-on offer at this point. He'll be back at Clemson this summer for camp. Also hearing from LSU, Syracuse, West Virginia, and TCU. 5 of 7 on field goals and averaged 46 yards per punt this season. And in basketball, 6'3", Trey McGowan's, former Wren standout now at Hargrave Prep, landed an offer from Tennessee Monday. He will take unofficials to Wake Forest Friday and USC Saturday. He has taken an official to Clemson. That's recruiting here on Sports Talk, available on our website, sportstalksc.com, and on Twitter. Use the hashtag #STRecruiting.
There'll be no change in the top 6, at least when it comes to the teams that are in there. No word on the order yet, but they've released all the way up until 7. Georgia, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Penn State, 7 through 10. Other notable, Southern Cal, 11, 12, TCU, Washington State, 13, Mississippi State, 14, UCF, still undefeated at number 15. They have not released the order of the top 6 yet, which still Alabama, Clemson, Miami, Oklahoma, Auburn, as well as did I say Wisconsin? Wisconsin.
I think you did.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, a little more from Will Muschamp from his press conference today previewing Clemson. Of course, Gamecocks took a beating from the Tigers last year up at Death Valley. He's hopeful, of course, that they can turn that around in their favor, and here is why he thinks his team will have a pretty good chance of pulling off the upset.
Obviously, we're a deeper football team. We have more depth. We're an older football team, although 70% of our roster is still freshmen and sophomores. This football team competes. And that's one thing when you turn the tape on, you're going to see great effort. You're going to see guys running the ball. You're going to see guys offensively finishing plays, and really good effort on special teams. We had a couple good examples from last week's game this morning that I showed the team. So, again, I think that the one thing that I've been most consistent with this football team is the effort and the competitive edge. And that's something that, last year that was one of the things I told our team. We had some guys that flat out didn't compete when the adversity sat in. And that's the bottom line. That's one thing you always, as a coach, you want to have your football team go compete, and that'll give you an opportunity to win games.
Sky was saying earlier that the eyes on the defense were all out of whack last year. How big of a problem was eye discipline again in that game last year, and what kind of steps have been made to correct that this year?
Well, again, they create a lot of window dressing, so to speak, on some different things in the run game and the pass game. They do a really nice job of getting the ball in the perimeter. And we watched some wrong things last year as far as motion and those things are concerned. It created a lot of issues in the run game for us, and they certainly took advantage of them. So, TJ and Sky have played really good inside linebacker for us this year. Sherrod Green continues to come on. Eldridge Thompson has done some really nice things. So we've continued to improve that position.
All right. That is Will Muschamp from his press conference earlier today in Columbia. We'll hear more from Dabo Swinney and a little bit more from Muschamp coming up in a little bit as well. And we are waiting for the top of the order.
Miami is number 2.
Ooh.
Alabama number 1.
Interesting.
Clemson drops
Miami
to 3.
is number 2?
Clemson drops to 3.
Well, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant because
Yeah.
they play each other in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
If Clemson, if they both win this weekend, how could you bump Miami up? I mean, I guess they bumped them up because they played an FBS team while Clemson was playing an FCS team, as did Alabama. They weren't going to jump past Alabama. I guess they felt like the victory that they had, even though they struggled against a pretty average Virginia team at home, had to pull it out with a big play late in the fourth quarter. I guess that they felt that was
still
worthy of the bump.
It's the
Still creates a
turnover
knockout
chain.
game next week.
It's the turnover chain that's turning everybody on. That's that bobble that's being waved in the committee's face.
All right, so what's the order right now?
Alabama, Miami, Clemson, Oklahoma, Wisconsin, Auburn.
Okay. So
Your
nothing
top 6.
Nothing changed except for Clemson and Miami.
Clemson gets to wear white,
Changing
basically.
spots.
Clemson will wear white instead of orange. Look at the away jersey.
We'll see what happens this weekend and see where it stands come next week.
Sure.
We'll be right back. is Sports Talk here on a Talking Tuesday. Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic, Professor Tom Hayes with you. So once again, the top four in the college football playoff ranking for this week. Alabama's number 1, Miami, is up at number 2.
I'd love to know what Kirby Hokut's smoking in that room in Grapevine, that he puts Clemson behind Miami for no other reason other than they have an FCS team on their schedule last week, and they beat Virginia, who is basically a de facto FCS team.
Clemson, number 3.
Yeah, I said it.
Mm-hmm. And at number 4, it is
Oklahoma. Sorry.
That's right. Oklahoma is at number 4.
I didn't know you were waiting on me.
Well,
I'm typing. I'm trying to get the story on the website.
You've been keeping an eye on the poll. I thought that you would jump in.
I haven't. I haven't.
Give us the rest of it.
I haven't.
And USC checks in for the first time this year in this particular poll at number 24.
And they were receiving votes in the AP at 26. They also were doing so in the Coaches Poll. They're around 28, 29. So making themselves at least a force now in the latter part of this season after what many thought is a step forward. And I think that certainly is something you have to say.
Well, what you got to say is this: how 1 inch can put a team right into the rankings, because the NC State wide receiver stretches 1 inch, he's in the end zone for a touchdown, and maybe NC State retains their spot in this poll. South Carolina just fills a vacuum.
Well, that's the problem. He did stretch and he lost the football. He lost the football going in.
Yeah.
Because he was stretching. I am getting so opposed to these receivers and running backs extending the football nakedly out there for a defender to knock it away and cost me and cost of team points.
Wow.
So sick
It
and
cost
tired
me
of
a
that.
win.
I
too.
love how you just don't even hide your agenda anymore. You just don't even hide it anymore.
I've just had a bad week.
People talk about whether we're biased towards one team or another. You're biased toward one thing and one thing only, and that's your wallet.
Well, sure. Who wouldn't be? I've had a very, very bad week in Vegas. Vegas has not been kind
Maybe
to
you
the
should
point
stop
this week.
visiting Vegas, at least virtually.
I can't. I'm hooked.
Someone was telling me that they thought you had a gambling problem. You should, maybe call that number.
No, actually, what Corn's like, he tries to help them in an altruistic way build those big hotels in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
This is part of your charity work, I
Yes.
believe.
Want to remind you, Touchstone Energy Bowl is coming up. It's coming up quickly. Can't wait to be down at the beach for North-South Week. Touchstone Energy Bowl. You've got until Friday the 24th. You've got until, when is the 24th?
Next week.
No, it's this week.
24th?
Friday. Yeah, this Friday. You've got
Time
until
flies.
Friday to get your tickets for only $15. Then they go up to $20. Go to the website, touchstoneenergybowl.com, to order your tickets. Also, while you're online, get over to scliving.coop/touchdown, scliving.coop/touchdown, and register to win 2 tickets to the game, plus a $100 Visa gift card and free Touchstone Energy merchandise. And don't forget, during the ball game at halftime, we will have for you the exclusive announcement of Mr. Football in South Carolina for 2017. We'll talk more about that in the days ahead as we get closer to that. Once we get USC Clemson behind us, we'll talk about a whole bunch of other stuff. But right now, the focus is on the Gamecocks and the Tigers. We've heard a couple of times from Will Muschamp. How about a little more from Dabo Swinney?
This is a rivalry, Corn, that not only transcends everywhere you go throughout the state, but, it's something you're hearing people talk about, whether you're in line at the cash register, whether you're going to church on Sunday. This is a very, very big rivalry. It means a lot of things to a lot of different people, and that is not lost on Dabo Swinney.
Don't really have to do much. They live here. And so you go to the grocery store, you go to church, anywhere you go, it's instant. And that's on both sides. I mean, it's an instant deal. So they know it's one of our goals. From the moment they get here, they understand that. And again, you live with it every single day. We went around last year. Last year we won the national championship, lost Pittsburgh. If we'd have won the national championship and lost South Carolina, nobody was running up to us at church going, "Hey, congratulations on the national championship." But hey, you lost Pittsburgh. Everybody moved on. But this is one nobody moves on from. So, and I've been on both sides of it, obviously. So it doesn't take long for everybody to figure that out because it's what people talk about everywhere they go. And so they're living here.
I know you preach to your players that every game's a season and every game's the biggest game of the year, but how hard is it for you and your coaching staff personally to not pay attention to what's going on downstate, at least ancillarily during the season?
Oh, we know what's going on down there, and they know what's going on up here. Again, you live here. So it doesn't matter where you are in your season. You always have people coming up to you and, saying something. It's just kind of part of it. But we do a good job of staying focused on wherever we are, and that's why we've been so consistent. But this is one you really look forward to each and every year. And these guys all know each other. They're on the news, and it's pretty easy to kind of keep up with a team that's in your state. Keep moving forward.
Do you feel that this rivalry is underappreciated nationally?
Definitely. I definitely think so. I think that's changed over the last, certainly over the last 8 or 9 years. That's changed from when I first came here. Just simply, I think, Coach Spurrier and the run that he had, they had some great teams, man. I mean, they had some 10, 11 win teams. And this game came down. We had one year we went down. I think we might have both been in the top 10. But that's been rare. I mean, it's just the fact. It's been rare in this rivalry game. It's been a game that's has been meaningful. You can't have any more meaning to it for the people in this state. But it has been, I think, underappreciated outside of the state. Whereas the Alabama-Auburn game, there's been a lot of top, ranking type matchups where you win the division or, a chance to go play for the conference. We're in different conferences. So there's a little difference there. But I think a lot of that has changed over the last, 9 years because this game has obviously where we've been as a program, the run that they went on and the implications that were involved. It's I think a game everybody pays attention to now, maybe more than they did 9 years ago. And I think that's great. I really do. That means that we're doing some good things.
All right, Dabo Swinney from his press conference up at Clemson today talking about the Gamecocks and getting ready for them. We'll hear a little bit more from him and Muschamp coming up in just a few more minutes here on this Tuesday edition of Sports Talk, a Talking Tuesday, as we count down the days until the big showdown, South Carolina, Clemson.
They tried to go to the head of the College Football Playoff Committee, the Texas Tech Athletic Director, Kirby Hocutt, and explain to him why Miami jumped Clemson. Guess what happened? His mic cut out.
No.
How convenient.
You think?
How convenient.
He tripped over it.
Speaking of,
so
today was the first time all football season Brent Venables did not meet with the media. He's not going to meet with the media tomorrow either. In other words, he's not going to do any media this week.
He will not, at least until after the game is over.
Yeah. Which is interesting. Listen, he is one of those guys that burns the candle at both ends and spends a heck of a lot of time breaking down film and planning and coaching his guys up. And I guess it tells you that he's putting a little bit more extra work into preparation for the Gamecocks.
I'm not going to chastise him for missing 1 week of the availability that Clemson usually provides us with. Very, very good availability when it comes to those things.
Yeah. No, ain't no question.
I'm still waiting to meet Kurt Roper.
Well, you mentioned about Brent Venables, and I know the glamour thing now is to look for an offensive coach. But are you guys surprised that when you look at even people surmising who schools are looking at, that they don't mention Brent Venables?
It's because they all want to splash. They all want to splash, and that's the thing.
There's your splash. Get him on campus, win football games, play great defense.
It's funny. The last 21 coaches who have been hired at the FBS level have all come from people who were not sitting as FBS head coaches at that time, or at least Power 5 head coaches at the time.
Story coming out of the Houston Chronicle just a little while ago. Texas A&M coach Kevin Sumlin will be fired following the LSU game Saturday night. Multiple people with knowledge of the situation told the newspaper.
Another opening in the SEC.
Talk more about this in a moment. All right, back we are, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Tuesday night edition. We are at Palmetto Propane, Fish Hatchery Road, over in West Columbia near the airport. Been enjoying watching the big planes fly over. I don't get to see big planes very often.
You don't like
you
don't like to fly. I've come to realize you're a very grounded gentleman.
I do it when I have to. You know, when I'm forced to fly, I hop in a plane. I close my eyes. I hope to wake up at my destination. That is my plan. All right, we got a drawing here. Looks like we got a conspiracy going on.
Did you rig the ballot box again, Kevin Cohen?
No. Come on now, you guys know me well enough to know that's not my game.
Yeah,
but I do want to. I want to introduce Porter real quick.
From Palmetto
Porter
Propane.
from Palmetto PPP. Huh?
PPP.
Porter, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
We're going to let you announce the winner, and we do not have a drum roll. We're giving away the
big green egg.
Would you let him announce what he's giving away?
Sure.
We're giving away the
big green egg. This is a large big green egg. So,
large.
You can put about 3 very large Boston butts on there, and
what about Kevin Cohen butts? Can you put a couple?
Put half of those on.
That
there.
was teed up.
You know what they say about big butts.
What do they say about big butts?
I can't say.
Well, why would you ask if you're not going to say?
Just can't say.
I hate when people do that. You know? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So it makes a lot.
Well, this was not rigged. This was an honest poll, but Mrs. Doris Davidson.
He knows.
Oh, that cannot. Wait a minute. You cannot allow that to happen.
Knows her, so anyway,
do I know her? Do you know her?
I know her.
I know you know her. You know her better than I know her.
I know her pretty well.
You're winning points, right?
Another inside job here by Kev.
Unbelievable.
She won't know what to do with this, and neither will Fred.
Hey, I'm just.
You know, they're just. You know what they're gonna re-gift it. That's what they're gonna do.
Unless they re-gift it.
Might end up in your
Christmas is taken care of.
That's it.
Thank you guys for
That might take care of Christmas and Hanukkah for you on
Porter,
both sides.
that is a great. Tell people what this thing does.
Yeah, so the big green egg is such a versatile grill. You can bake, smoke, broil. Just
you can use pizza for it too.
Pizza, desserts. You can slow cook at 250 or crank it up to about 700. To get some fillets, nice.
Is it heavy to pick up and move around?
It is.
Okay.
Yep. So a large green egg is a couple hundred pounds, but you can put them in tabletops. You can have them in a nest. A lot of people that purchase the smaller ones, they'll take them camping. So they're very versatile.
How does this one vary from the one you were using to cook the sausage on earlier?
The small one here?
Yeah.
Well, obviously the surface area is much smaller. It's good for, just 2 or 3 steaks, but the large that I was cooking on, that one you could fit 3 Boston butts on it.
And that's the one Doris is getting.
That's right.
Wow.
You can, I had 5 pounds of rope sausage from Old Timey on there, and it just cooks incredibly well, and it's pretty dummy proof. So.
Hey,
don't
sign up for that.
Don't say that too
sign
loud.
up for the dummy proof. I'm good with that. Hey, thank you so much, Porter.
Thank y'all for coming out. We really enjoy y'all, and
this has been great.
It's been a good show.
Well, thank you, and thanks to Kev Cohen. He just made somebody very happy with that pull. Okay, just made somebody very happy with that pull.
Probably can do a little smoked turkey in that thing too. I bet.
Don't get Congress to investigate that little deal. A little insider trading, I think. Got a poor man's been standing out here in the cold all day waiting for the drawing to take place, hoping he would win it, and somebody else got it. Congratulations, Doris. You're the proud owner of the Big Green Egg from Palmetto Propane and The Point Radio, and from us here at Sports Talk as well. We're going to take some credit for this.
You were mentioning the Texas A&M firing of Kevin Sumlin. He is the second highest winning percentage of any A&M coach in the last 60 years.
Yeah. Enough. He's just not winning enough for those people out there.
Shame on that. Shame on them. Then.
But really,
shame on them.
Since Manziel, has he really done anything? Manziel gave
him 8 games
golden,
every year.
Manziel gave him that golden year, but since then it's just been turmoil. All the quarterbacks that transfer out. The defense has been and he pays John Chavis. They pay him tons of money. The defense has been crap out there even since Chavis got there.
I think it's the style in that they start so fast and they fade at the end, and it's almost been like Groundhog Day. It's the same script ever since Manziel left. They'll start off like gangbusters, and then they just for whatever reason just drop off at the end of the season. But I think the start was those quarterbacks defecting. I think psychologically from the fan base that hurt. And also, guys, let's look at UCLA. What Jim Moore won, 29 games in his first 3 years, and he's gone. So, I mean, people want the quick fix now, and I think probably, patience wears thin, or maybe they're chasing that guy who left Oregon.
Yeah, there is no patience out there. Speaking of that, there was a story today on the Florida situation saying that the Gators are starting to look at some other options. They went up and met with Chip Kelly up in New Hampshire. Now, the UCLA opening has thrown a monkey wrench into Florida's plans because Kelly apparently wants to look at the UCLA opportunity. He also is doing even more due diligence on the Florida situation. So they're going to expand their search and apparently interview some other people.
Well, part of the issue with Florida is they're not sure whether or not the show cause that certainly sits on Chip Kelly's head will pass by the SEC muster. They have a certain set of criteria that supersedes the NCAA's in order to satisfy the basically right to hire somebody who has a show cause statement on their head, so to speak.
All right, some words from who did we just hear from last?
You are going to do some Will Muschamp.
We're going to do some more Will Muschamp this time. Okay, let's give you final words from Will Muschamp from his press conference earlier today. We've had him talking about just the game in general. We've also had him talking about how his team has improved and should do better this coming Saturday night. What about some things on his offense, his offensive line, the way things have come together in his eyes, not just on the offense, but the improvement throughout his club? He touched on that.
Well, I think, again, I think we've improved tremendously. From the beginning of the season. But I think in all three phases, our football team has taken some steps forward. We have not been as explosive on special teams, obviously, without Debo. There's been some kicks that we felt like may have hit if he had been back returning. But I think in all three phases, our football teams continue to improve. And I'm looking forward to the matchup with our offensive line. I think we've made some strides. We're certainly much improved from a year ago. But they got a good front. We've got a great opportunity sitting in front of us.
Coach, you mentioned Kelly Bryant, but how do you find a balance maybe in having your defensive line go and try to make a play down the line or stay home and make sure he doesn't kind of break one for a big game?
Well, I think you got to be really disciplined in this football game. You got to really be cognizant of your rush lanes and fill your rush lanes up. And what I told our defensive line, don't be selfish at the end of the day. You got to play within the scheme and system of what we're trying to do and understand that this guy's he's a really good athlete and he can hurt you throwing it. And obviously he's hurt people running as well.
Will, what are the key areas that stand out to you about how much Jake has improved from a year ago as he steps out onto the field at Clemson and this week?
Oh, I think it's night and day. I mean, it's number one is what we're, putting on him at the line of scrimmage, the amount of different things we're going to allow him as far as decision-making, much more a percentage of the offensive playbook. I mean, that we're able to carry into a game now, the adjustments we're able to make at halftime that we probably wouldn't have been able to do a year ago. I mean, it's night and day from where he was a year ago. There's no doubt about that.
Coach, you talked about the improvement of the offensive line. We've seen the run game improve the last couple of weeks as well. Going against the front that Clemson has. Obviously, they've been banged up a little bit defensively, but still one of the best in the country. How important will it be to be able to establish that run early and be able to stay balanced?
Well, you don't want to get in a one-dimensional game with this group, and we did a year ago. And you watch, they do a really good job of pressuring the quarterback, and if they know you're going to be in a throw situation the entire game, it's going to be a long day. So you got to stay balanced. You got to be, again, hard-headed in the run game a little bit. And, when you play a front like this, you're not going to always hit a 20-yard run every time you run it. You got to be able to stay patient in the run game, and you can't get one-dimensional.
Okay, Will Muschamp laying out a little bit of his thought process on what his team must do well to have a chance to beat the Tigers on Saturday. We'll give you some final thoughts tonight from Dabo Swinney coming up. right, give me a quick high school football report tonight, brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. With new auto insurance rates from Farm Bureau, you could be saving a whole lot of money. Even if you received a quote before, rates are now more competitive than ever, so get a no-obligation quote today at favrates.com. Take a look at the playoff pairings now as we hit the state semifinals in 5A Friday night. Dorman home against Gaffney, and Fort Dorchester will be at Dutch Fork. In 4A, South Point goes to Greer, and Berkeley plays at Hartsville. In 3A, it's Emerald to Chapman, and Dillon will be home to take on Brooklyn KC. BC not too far from us. In 2A, Saluda plays at Abbeville, and Barnwell goes to Bamberg Earhart, and your 1A semis will be Lamar home to Ridge Spring Monetta, and C.E. Murray at Baptist Hill. Final thoughts from Dabo Sweeney from today's Talking Tuesday.
You know, the competition wasn't necessarily top competition, but Clemson needed a week to get its offense back in gear. They did so against the Bulldogs and got a little bit of that swagger back.
Shoot, you name one, we improved. That's probably our best game, really. I mean, we were, again, I know we're a better team than the Citadel, but you still have to play well and execute and make the right decisions and play with good technique, finish plays, and tackle. And I thought we just did a great job of that. I mean, we improved in every area. Number one, finishing plays that were there downfield, whether it was the receiver, whether it was the quarterback, whether it was the running back, whether it was the protection, whatever it may be. We'd kind of been in a little funk there. I'd have been more concerned if it was stuff not there, like we just, but these are things that we just kind of were in a little bit of a slump as far as finishing some plays. It was just one thing after another. Everything's great, perfect throw, perfect drop the ball. Everything's great, receiver don't run the right route. Everything's great, bad throw. Everything's great, poor protection. I mean, it's just like a combination of things that are a little frustrating there for a couple games, where all of a sudden teams are hanging in there. You really ought to have more points on the board, but you miss opportunities. Obviously down against Florida State, you got the ball on the 1 yard line twice and get 3 points total. Those are, and it's 16 play drive, and get nothing. Those are things that just finishing drives. We only had 1 3-and-out against Florida State. Moved the ball all day. We just didn't finish some of the drives, and then making some kicks. I think we've improved there. Like I said, Spence is 4 out of his last 5. I know I'm counting one of them as a timeout, but I count it. I'm looking for every silver lining I can get. So we've made some improvements in all areas. Our depth is an area that I think we've improved our football team over the course of the season, certainly over the last 3 weeks. I think we've got just really good focus right now, and that's what it's going to take to get where we want to get to.
Coach, the depth chart this week, you got Hunter Johnson or Zarek Cooper as your backup quarterback. From the Citadel game, what you saw, those two quarterbacks, do you see a pecking order starting to appear there between the?
Yeah, I think just based on that game and that performance, Hunter graded better, played better, and so if you're just going to go on one thing, I mean, that was really proud of him for his development because he's worked really hard. He's made a lot of progress. That's the thing you love to see in guys, because sometimes you're not getting a lot, you're just getting practice opportunity, but to see guys improve, and Zarek has done a phenomenal job for us. We see him every day, every meeting, but at the end of the day, though, you also got to take that to the field. And I think last week, Hunter played better. And, so, I mean, if we had to, if he'd be the first one in this week, but it's a day-to-day process. That's because that's kind of where they are. It's not nobody has lifetime contracts around here. Every day is competition. And, but based on where we are in that one game, he would be the first one in this week.
we need to add a little NASCAR to the conversation on this Talking Tuesday as we put the wraps on the 2017 NASCAR season. Quite a finish. Kerry Tharp, president of Darlington, joining us here on Sports Talk. Your man, Martin Truex Jr., who you had in for Media Day, a good all-around fellow who had a fantastic year. That team out in Denver dominating all season. It's only fit that they win the championship, and they do it by winning the race.
I think you're exactly right, Phil. Martin Truex Jr. is certainly the MVP of the entire season from start to finish. And, you know, he came on strong Sunday and really put a capping on an outstanding season, holding off Kyle Busch. It was a great finish to what I thought was a very good season in NASCAR, a lot of competition. And really, when you look back at it, I think the best driver, the best team won. Sometimes that doesn't always happen in sports, but I think it did happen this year for NASCAR.
Do you think, knowing the team out there in Denver, being so far away from the hub of NASCAR, do they appreciate out in Denver, the sports people out there, they appreciate what this team accomplished?
Well, I tell you what, I haven't had a chance to go out there and visit their facility, but people that have tell me that the folks out in Denver have really embraced this race team. You know, a couple of years ago, Martin Truex Jr. was in the finals, and I think John Elway came by the shop out there and personally wished them well. And so I think that, you know, with the success like this that they're having out there in Denver, I think the community is becoming well aware of Furniture Row and the posture that they have in NASCAR, and certainly winning a championship like this is only going to enhance their image and their awareness out there. So I think the people in Denver are glad that they've got them a championship race team.
You know, it's funny, KT. Kyle Busch kind of got lambasted a bit for going on a two-stop strategy down the stretch. Everybody else was on a three-stop strategy. How much do you think that affected the way the race finished?
Well, I think it had a lot to do with it. You know, I think particularly a guy like Keselowski, he changed up his pit strategy pretty dramatically, and I think they probably thought that was their best chance to win. And, you know, probably the same thing with Kyle Busch. And maybe if that last caution doesn't come out, Kyle Busch is the champion. But that's not how it went. And so, you know, sometimes you've got to go with your gut. I think that's what Adam Stevens, crew chief for Kyle Busch, did. It didn't work out, but I can't say enough about the job that Cole Pern, crew chief for Martin Truex Jr., did. They called an excellent race. They held off Kyle Busch. He was coming on so strong the last 20 laps or so, but Martin Truex Jr. ran all over that racetrack and did what he had to do to keep Kyle Busch in his rearview mirror. And, you know, lo and behold, he's the champion.
Well, Dale is leaving. Danica Patrick is leaving. What type of strategy do you see from NASCAR of marketing Mr. Truex, who seems to have staying power?
Well, I tell you, Professor, that's a great point. I think a lot of these fans of Dale Earnhardt Jr. are going to gravitate towards Martin Truex Jr. You know, he drove for Dale Jr. back in the day, won a couple of Busch championships. Martin's an outdoorsman. He's a hunter. He's a fisherman. He's with Bass Pro Shops. He's a great guy, got a great story. So I think they're really going to see a lot of publicity and promotion going around Martin Truex Jr. here in the offseason.
Well, KT, from the three biggest turkeys you know, we wish you and your family a happy Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And we look forward to seeing you and talking with you in 2018, another NASCAR season cranking up at Daytona in February. We hope you'll be with us.
Sounds great. I appreciate everything y'all do week in and week out, and y'all have a blessed Thanksgiving as well.
Thank you, KT. El Presidente, Darlington.
You know, I listened to the race.
And I was thinking of you, Pro, and Brian when I said three biggest turkeys. I was not including myself.
Speak for
In
yourself.
case you're wondering.
You're a ham.
Hurry up real quick.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, good. Hey, that'll do it. Have a great night. Back live with you tomorrow night here on Sports Talk. We'll see you then.